Hello and welcome to a live webinar for Martech Trends for 2019. We have with us Mr. Samarth Sawhney, Head of Growth Baby Chakra, and Mr. VeerChand Bothra, Chief Entrepreneur and Evangelist, Netcore Solutions. Uh,
Thanks for having us here, Anshrik.
it's a pleasure to have you. So, the topic is, as a marketer, what does 2019 have in store for you? It's a combination of marketing and technology, and we have the two speakers who will discuss various trends that will be put into action throughout 2019 by various companies. Just things to remember while the webinar is on. You can use the hashtags and the handle to tweet during the webinar. The hashtags and the handles are @Netcore Smartech @ET BrandEquity, and the hashtag is #Martech Trends 2019. If you also want to write a question, you can put up the question on the question tab on the go to webinar section. So we'll start by looking at the first trend, which is the AI first Smartech trend. How companies are applying AI across various strategies in a very innovative way. So I'll open the floor to Veer, who will take us through his experience, followed by Samarth.
Yeah, so the trend that we are talking about, the first and the most important trend that we see for 2019, a Martech trend, is it is AI first Martech. What we are saying is that you can have Martech as an add-on module. You can have machine learning as one of the modules of your offering, or as part of Martech that you are using separately. What we are saying is many of the marketing technologies that we see today, they will become AI first. So let's take an example. When we talk about lead scoring, typically lead scoring has been around for many years, and typically it's done by way of rules. There are certain rules that when they match, they score a lead and they give weightages to those, and that's how lead scoring is done. But when you make it AI first, that is, it becomes where AI is core to lead scoring. You would also reimagine it in a way that based on patterns that they are seeing of customer activity that you're seeing on website, you are able to score the leads by factoring in the conversions. Okay, that this behavior that you're seeing on the website adds so much weightage, and based on newer data, you keep on the model keeps on retraining itself. So that is one example. Second example is customer journeys. So the customer journeys today are typically workflows which are predefined, and they are created, and they just keep on running based on those the workflow that has been set. But when you look at making it AI first, the journeys themselves can become dynamic by figuring out what is the shortest path in the workflow to the goal or to the objective. So
And yeah, absolutely right, Veer. And just to add to it, what Veer has been saying is that AI is helping us to devise the marketing strategies exactly to the next level, right? Just to give you some examples, what I think AI has now been able to do is that it has changed the 4 P's of marketing completely. Like coming from a Kotler world where 4 P's were product, price, place, and promotion, it has now actually changed because of AI to people, platform, processes, and performance, right? Because of this, what has happened is that, at Baby Chakra also, we have been doing a lot of preemptive personalization on AI, right? Like for example, and this is changing the way we have been operating in marketing, right? We exactly, just to give you a small snapshot, what Baby Chakra is India's largest parenting platform, and when people come on board, we exactly know at what life stage these people have joined us. So exactly, it gives us, how can we create the content for the next life stages altogether, right? And because of that, and do you say this is just content creation? But no, it is not just only content creation, because you have to understand India is a diverse country, right? There are a lot of content which will have different conversion rates, and in order to understand what content is required for which kind of city, which kind of targeting, you need intelligence over there. So I think AI is changing it into a next level thing. And there are a lot of real life implementation, which I think we can definitely lay more thing on chatbots or personalization email recommendation, which have actually taken marketing to the next level.
Yeah, in fact, so Samarth, on that point about real life example, what we have seen in some of our customers of Smartech is previously, like for example, campaign management used to be a manual affair, right? You would have some sort of a workflow and automation thrown in. But when you make campaign management AI first, you are looking at helping a campaign management software decide what is the best time to send this campaign, yeah, which is the subject line that you should choose, which segment should you send it on, which is a preferred channel of the customer. Now typically that a marketer would do take these decisions by himself, but when you make it AI first, the campaign management tool should be able to help you with these, whether it is a channel, whether it is a time, which subject line should you be choosing among the various lines available with you. This is when things start to become AI first. There are certain technologies like conversation analytics, which are by default, they are not just, they cannot be done in any other way but machine learning. So naturally they are AI first. But there are a lot of other categories in Martech which happen to be around for some time, and they have, the most important angle to them is just automation. But what we are seeing now is that some of those will evolve into where they will become AI first.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely bang on point, and we have been seeing a lot of these things. So I think just to add to it, I think AI in Martech help us to understand our customers really better, help us to improve our user experience, which is the core of any company right now, and increase productivity and thereby increasing the ROI. So I think all these four pillars which AI is able to give us, I think it is not possible without AI that we will be able to deliver it in the coming months, because user is actually growing really fast. They are educated. You cannot have a single marketeer uh, running on the show, right? AI is the brain behind the marketing in 2019, and I think, yeah, it's a golden age to be in.
So we'll now move on to the next trend, which is about customer data platforms. So these are platforms that integrate customer data and talk to various engagement platforms such as web-based channels, app, etc. Veer, would you please like to throw some light on it, and then probably Samarth can take over?
Sure, Anushri. So CDPs have evolved today, where they are no longer a buzzword, but we at Netcore believe that they are the foundation of any great campaign management system that that you would be using, because without a CDP, you would not be able to utilize a campaign management system to the fullest. So people often get confused. Marketers often get confused between the jargonic, CDP, DMP, CRM, and they sound almost similar, and they, when you describe them, but there is a very clear difference between, let's say, a CDP and a CRM. A CRM is a record of profile data about customers, as opposed to a CDP, which integrates various data sources. So you could be talking about the customer data of customer activity on email versus customer activity within an app, or customer activity on the web. So a tool like Smartech, which has a CDP at its core, would help you integrate various data sources. So your customer data, which is today split across channels, as a marketer, you would have to come up with a IT project to be able to integrate these. The CDP provides it out of the it's plug and play. When you use a multi-channel campaign management system with a CDP at its core, customer data, which is split across channels, naturally gets integrated and creates a single view of the customer, or a unified view. Based on that, you can do identity, and identity resolution. So a customer who is visiting your website and a customer who's browsing your app, you can decide that it is the same customer, and join his profile. So these are some of the features that a CDP provides. Based on top of CDP and the unified view that it helps you build, you can then build analytics and machine learning and advanced segmentation on top of that. And what we are seeing in the Indian market today is, like CRM was wholeheartedly adopted, we are seeing that for a marketer, this has become an essential tool, and there is a great adoption of CDP as part of campaign management systems that the marketers are adopting.
Yeah, and you're absolutely bang at the point. Just to uh, simplify it much further, I think CDP or a customer data platform is a package software, right? That create persistent, unified customer database that is accessible to other systems, right? And like correctly said by Veer, it is not a CRM system. It is not a DMP, and it is not even a personalized tool. It is the core of it, right? Like it is on what everything actually runs on, right? So people actually, whenever I also have a long discussion, people actually mix all these things together, and I think we has actually covered it really well with respect to the customer data platforms are concerned, right? So they are the core of it. Yeah, I will just like to add some points onto it, like how is it not a personalization tool, right? Because personalization tool and CDP are sometimes mixed. Like while some of the CDPs have built-in native execution tools such as website personalization, this is not a core functionality to that category, because this takes focus away from solving the underlying data fragmentation problem that companies in the market are experiencing today, and they will be experiencing every day. So it's more onto, I would say, how well we can use these technologies in understanding our customer and reaching out to them, which I think Veer has pointed it out.
So as we move on to the next trend, that is data management platform. You had just spoken about the importance of data management platform in the earlier two trends while you were describing them. So where does it fit in? What is the structure? And actually, how will it help a client, to draw its own marketing strategy?
Yeah, sure. So DMPs have been around for now a few years. So when we include it as a trend, what we are seeing is there is a distinct trend in the market, where whether it is a CDP, DMP, programmatic advertising, or which we cover as a trend later today, or what Samarth was mentioning about personalization. The underlying assumption in all of this is that the digital footprint of the customer today enables a lot of things for the marketers. So as we were discussing, what's the difference between a CDP and a DMP, right? So DMP is primarily customer data, which is around a cookie, and it is third-party data. It is also the use of a DMP is primarily along with a DSP, where you would purchase advertising inventory programmatically for the purpose of customer acquisition. So it works, primarily in the area of customer acquisition. That's what DMPs are used for, as opposed to a CDP, which works primarily with first party and second party data. So it is your own customer data that you unify coming from across channels, as opposed to DMP, which is primarily third-party data. Now, so it has its own compartment. You would use DMP along with a DSP for customer acquisition, while you would use a CDP for customer growth. Cross-sell, upsell, targeting lookalikes based on what data you have in CDP. That is what you would use CDP for. A DMP is a very important tool for customer acquisition, and what we have seen in the last few years is that the adoption of DMPs has been there in certain sectors, and when what the reason we are including it as a trend is when you combine and make a full spectrum, where you have a CDP, there is a DMP, and then you have programmatic, and with personalization, this becomes a potent tool for marketers. That is why it is an important trend to keep track of. Samarth, you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, you're actually you're covering everything onto it also. I would say, but yes, what he correctly said is like I think DMPs will be used more for ad targeting, user profiling, lookalike modeling, which is there, and then creating business insights altogether, right? It's also a base point for doing audience analytics, if any, but it's onto the how to reach out to the user, right? Onto that front, and then again, it has to be combined by other marketing tools which are there in the market. It alone cannot suffice I think, the market strategy altogether.
Sure.
Okay, so we are talking about a set of combination of tools, right? And one of the next tools that comes is dynamic website personalization. Sorry. So personalization is a game that everybody plays, right? This is also a reason as to why today each website looks different to a different consumer, right? It's designed per se based on the consumer's consumption pattern. And this is becoming a trend, which is, I think, every product or every brand is adopting more or less, depending on how the consumer navigates through an app or a website, whether it's news or any goods that is being sold online. So when we talk about personalization, how personalized a website should be, to what extent, and to what extent it actually helps in increasing the sales also. See, there's an ROI attached to everything, right? So where does that fit in when you talk about personalization?
Yeah, that's an important question that you ask, because there are two types of websites, or what we call as properties. So whether it is a web or an app, but let's take the case of web, because we are talking about this web personalization as a trend. What one type of a website is where the website is a shop. So when you take Flipkart, the website is the shop. And the other places where website is one of the channels where commerce happens. So when you take an insurance company, they have multiple channels where they generate business from, and website is also a source of leads for them to generate leads and convert them to customers. So when we talk about web personalization, I think we are primarily talking about a category where their entire business is dependent, significant business is dependent on converting and selling to the customer online itself. So if you take example, as we said, let's say some part of Baby Chakra, and Samarth can talk about that, or a Flipkart or a Myntra, their website is a shop. You market to the customer, you acquire customer, you sell to the customer on the shop. So when you have these kind of websites, which are shops in themselves, the personalization becomes very important, because you have only that chance when the customer is on site with you to do the business with that customer. And the more relevant you make the offering, what product are you showing, because there is a limited amount of time that the customer has, there is a limited real estate. Unlike when the customer is browsing within a shop, he is there, he has time and space to kind of go through your products. There is a very limited real estate that you have on your website. There is a short time span. He's being constantly interrupted by alerts and different different devices like mobile, etc. So when the customer is on site, in a short window you have to convert that customer. So relevancy of what you are showing him becomes very important. And that is why this personalization piece is very important. So once you have a CDP and you have a personalization software which has an inbuilt recommendation engine in it, you are able to achieve personalization in a very highly targeted manner. So that is why personalization is very important for this particular category, as we just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have been on both the boards here. I have been with e-commerce portals like Jabong, Snapdeal, and Hopscotch, and then on a content portal with also with my small stint with Apollo Hospitals. Personalization as a whole plays a very important role, very, very, very important role. And I think this is a lesson which, see, at the end of the day, why are we doing things is to increase the conversion rates, right? And personalization actually help us with increasing our conversion to the next level. We all know an example of Amazon. Amazon recommendation engine is the engine which is boosting Amazon sales today, right? They have developed it really well, right? And let's talk about Netflix. This is a new buzzword in Indian thing. Netflix recommendation is next level, right? The kind of content which you see with respect to the data which they collect, even Spotify now. I've been using Spotify like hell, right? And the kind of content which they can provide, the level of data which these guys are collecting all through the entire nation and providing the unique experience to me as a customer is next level. I think product, so content as a whole has a lot of. So I will tell you what we are doing at Baby Chakra. Baby Chakra as a platform is actually built completely onto personalization of content, right? Like we collect a lot of data onto a user when they join the platform, and then we can the entire logic feed of Baby Chakra is according to the user life stage, according to where the user is, how the user is reacting to the products. So that in order to and in order to do that, there's a lot of machine learning, there's a lot of algorithms which are going at the back end of the system. And it gives me as a marketeer a confidence that I know the profile of the user who are at Baby Chakra. I know how to target them. And I if and see what I firmly believe is that personalization will not stop here. It will now is the time when personalization will go out of website or an app to the other devices which are coming. IoT is coming, right? IoT is next door to us, right? How can we use personalization uh, as a and voice search is coming. There's an n number of possibilities which are coming with personalization. And the thing how we will be mixing all these together will be shaping the next future of marketing altogether, right?
So we'll move on to the next trend, which is artificial reality and virtual reality. I mean, in this emerging technology, how brands are using this two format of tech to create tailor-made experiences, precisely to lift customer experiences. Veer, would you please give us a case study or an example where you've seen a tremendous impact by AR and VR in an experiential marketing, project?
Yeah, so the most recent one on that is IKEA's launch in Hyderabad,
Hmm.
where they had used rickshaws and AR, and it was a wonderful campaign. There are videos available on YouTube for people who have not seen that. So that is a great example of using AR for marketing. Another one in Indian context, and another thing that comes to mind is Mintra. Within the Mintra app, you can actually measure your shoe size through AR. So so if you have the app installed, you can pull out the app and go to the shoe size finder, and you can measure your feet size through that. So that's a product example, not really a marketing example there, but Mintra app has that. Another example, which is like very recent, is in US. Burger King has been is running a campaign, which is a very interesting campaign where you can through the Burger King app point your phone camera to a competitor's ad, and it burns that ad, and for that every ad burn you
Yeah,
get a burger.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
been trending a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are some very interesting examples of AR. But yes, whether it is AR or VR or mixed reality, there have been attempts since now last 2 3 years, but it has not exploded. Yeah, so there are these experiments and some successful experiments and a lot of viral and PR-worthy marketing campaigns that have been done. But yeah, it has not reached its full potential. Samarth and I were talking and about how Apple has put its full weight behind AR.
Yeah.
And if somebody want to
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
actually we were having a small conference in Bangalore, and I was given a chance to meet some people over there. Our teammate actually flew to Bangalore, and as correctly spoken by V, right? Like AR or VR, we are looking AR and VR as a content player in the market, which is content-led, commerce player in the market. We can create a unique experience using AR, right? And people come to our app or use our website for experience, right? Like the content which we are selling is also responsible for the ROI. Now, this ROI can be in the shape of visitors, users, or even at the end of the day convert into a revenue like a purchase altogether. But content can be created like anything, and we are doing something really big on AR and VR at Baby Chakra. I won't be able to disclose this, though I really want to, but I will never, I cannot do that right now. You will be seeing a lot of things coming out of Baby Chakra content in augmented reality, because that is a kit which mostly all the content players have been using and creating really good content. I think the way marketeers are looking into AR or VR is uh, to become viral, right? That is the scope which we see as marketeers in this tech. One more player just came into my mind is Lenskart, right? Like you can actually use to see, and they have been in this business for quite a long time, right? And they have been doing a great job, I think. And you can check out your device with your new specs on. So yeah, there are a lot of players in the market who are using AR and VR with respect to revenue, and there are also players in the market who are using it for with respect to content. I think we will be the players in the market. I think we will be doing a lot in content using AR, and you guys will be seeing it on our app.
Um, so we'll move on to the next one, which is programmatic advertising, right? Programmatic advertising is the need of the hour. I think all the social media platform already run on their own programmatic advertising format. It is useful because it allows you to track your budget. You can actually place an ad depending on your budget, and there is no human interaction. But at times you will not get the right placement. So ROI versus your placement. How does programmatic figure out in that? For example, I may take the right corner on Facebook, but I may not want that. I want the news feed. However, at the time of auction, the news feed is more expensive than what I have as a budget. So
So
how do I handle the entire
I
thing?
completely give it to Anushri. Veer, you should answer this question because this question is from my side also. Like you guys, what are you guys doing here, and why are we not getting what we actually require at a good price? I would say.
Yeah, so I really don't have an answer to this, this difficult question. So yeah, the whole space is evolving, but on one side, we don't see that everything will be programmatic, because there is a space, for manual, placements as based on strategic interests that you may have. But there is a secular trend, which is that the more data that you have about customers, whether it is in the form of a CDP or a DMP that you have at your access, you'd like to leverage that data to reach the right audience. Now that so when we talk about DMP, it also has freshness to it, right? Because you have third-party data, which allows you to look into the intent of those customers, because you are in market for something based on what you're browsing on some certain websites. That adds freshness to it. Then there is your own first-party data that allows you to really look into the customer's custom behavior and build personas on top of that. So there is a explosion of data, which were, even 5 years back, an enterprise would not have it. Most of the time, brand would ignore owned property data. Your website, your blog, the emails that you are sending out, it is generating a lot of data. But those were not really used for anything. DMPs were not that popular, so that part was not available. But in the last 3 to 5 years, as we have seen even in India, uh, due to the adoption of technology, and campaign management tools, you have CDPs that have risen to prominence, and then there is also DMPs. So programmatic is a result, where data becomes available to you, and then you are able to target and reach your audience in a programmatic manner and a fashion. It allows you to do finer targeting, and therefore the promises of a better ROI, because you are reaching the right audience at the right stage of the funnel, whether it is top of the funnel or middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel. So what we see is that overall, by using Martech data and EdTech data, the use of programmatic will increase. People start generally by custom audience and retargeting based on cookies, which is persona based. But with CDPs, you will be able to do finer targeting, and that is one thing that we see, that the programmatic usage of programmatic is a secular trend that it's again on the upswing.
So I have a small, it's not a question actually, it's more like a discussion point, right? Like there are, and what you correctly jumped on, there is something which is called first party data. There is something which is called second party data. And there is another term which is called third party data altogether, right? And in how, how how are you guys collecting these data to make more informed decision? And like first party data is the data collected by company itself, right? Like which is our own data, which is the website data, mobile application data, or any CRM kind of a data. And what about the second party data, right? That is collected by the results altogether, right?
Second party data is between partners. So if you
Yeah.
form a consortium, like Baby Chakra ties up with a provider of
Yeah, so the consumer journey data, or let's assume online advertising data, those kind
yeah,
of
with
things, right?
those partners that you may have. It could be your group companies, that like a conglomerate could have second party data available from other companies, like a life insurance company sharing data with a broking company, part of the same group. So that's second party data. And third party data is basically anybody who's willing to sell their data legally, with the consent of the users.
Uh,
That's the third party data.
like the data delivered by data providers, or which is available in the market at a specific price. So are these kind of things started happening in India, and people are utilizing it with respect to DMPs altogether?
Yeah, so in fact, DMPs is something that is definitely being used. But as you rightly said, the Indian market is not as developed as the US market as far as data exchange, legal data exchanges are concerned, where you can purchase third-party data for enrichment of your databases. But because the laws are in India not that clear, so that market is not a very rich, or a thriving market in India as of now. But yes, DMPs do exist, and there is a lot of data that is available in DMPs.
Got it. Got it. Very interesting.
We'll move on to the seventh trend, which is within content marketing. Video is the shining star. I mean, we have all spoken about video to great lengths, and we also know that how the consumption of video is on a rise, right? But there are times when a marketer has to make the right video for it to go viral. A, what it takes to make the right video, and B, the kind of role Netcore can play to actually make that video viral or take the video to consumers.
So I'll make a quick point, and Samarth can add to this. So when we look at video as a trend in a multilingual country like India, where you have so many languages, and we generally are not very used to reading content in India. There is so much of consumption of video content in India, television, cinema. So there is no surprise that video is very big. Today with post-Geo era, and with smartphones becoming ubiquitous, it allows now the marketer to leverage it in a meaningful way. So you today are able to get a lot of audience today consuming video content, that is accessible to the marketer, either for customer acquisition purpose or even in customer engagement. You could today produce content, and as I said, Samarth will be able to add, because Baby Chakra is a company which is, as you said, content driven commerce. You'll realize that you have an audience today which has the ability to consume video content, and a sizable audience at that. But now the channels are multiple. You could it is not just YouTube which is a channel for you to disseminate content. You today can disseminate your own video content through email. You can have it via an SMS, which links to a website with video content. Today WhatsApp is opening up as a possible channel for brands. So there are multiple distribution points. You could actually have a video content embedded in an in-app message or a web message. So the ability to disseminate your video content within your own properties today is very high. And definitely you have third-party sites like YouTube. So what is happening is the market is fully ready. You have a big good chance to increase consumption of your video content, and all these channels help you do the distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at Baby Chakra also we're investing very heavily on video content. With respect to the profile of people also on the platform, most of the our target audience are Indian women, and women, like anyone in India, actually have a very small span of in a time limit, right? And the amount of content which you can provide to a user in a more interesting way through video content, people stick around to the platform. So what we have also observed is that we have been creating a lot of content both for engaging our users and also for bringing our users on board. So we have a lot of content which on a video which we have used on the social media campaigns, by which people have actually come onto a platform. Just to give you a small example over here, we saw a tremendous increase in brand recall when we launched what exactly Baby Chakra is all about, right? We were not able to get that same brand recall via content-led campaign or thing. But and just to add to a question, to the answer, like how can you make a video viral? You cannot make a video viral. It just goes viral, right? And it's something which I've been trying to do for a good amount of time. And yes, we have been really successful. There is no fixed formula that we know that it will make viral. But yes, with respect to the platforms like Netcore, which have the ability to use different marketing channels all together in one, you can definitely send out a user, your video content through an email, through an SMS, through a WhatsApp, through n number of different things. And if it is all run through an algorithm, right? Like if a user has not seen this, then try to send them that similar video through a different. So you need to hit the user at least 3 to 4 times to make him now, understand that what really the context is. So I think here video plays a very important role. I don't to people like us also. I don't know how many of us now don't see read magazines, right? With the content which we absorb on a daily basis is either, I think my primary source of news is, yes, I do read newspapers, but it is through YouTube or through through Hotstar or some channels like this. So we are consuming content like in a very fast pace, right? And I think this will also lead into something which we called as a future of content, right? I don't want to quote this because I'm live, but I still feel that we have a lot of written content online now. I don't think there is anything left, right? The only thing which is left now is video, and I think we are on that journey. We will be making a lot of video content, and people will be. We will soon find out some algorithm in under to understand how can we make things viral. But now, I think now we don't have an answer, right? We or else something is burning in your lab and you don't want to tell us is something different.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one, which is conversion rate optimization (CRO), which we has been talking about, and it's about the brand's UX, website traffic conversion and how it indicates on a brand's UX. So, uh, how does it actually improve the performance of a website, Veer? I mean, when we say performance of a website, do we mean that consumers come and spends time on it, or do we actually mean that if it's a commerce-led website, a consumer comes, spends times, and eventually it leads to some kind of conversion where a commerce happens? So, in this entire scheme of things, conversion rate optimization, how does that entire process works, and which are the categories that it is most useful?
Sure. So, first of all, the conversion rate optimization is a broad term that we use. It is possible to have a rate optimization for any sort of a conversion goal. It could be commerce-led. That means you could have a Myntra or a Jabong, and the conversion could be actual purchase, or it could be a BFSI website where the conversion is actually filling up a lead form, or conversion could be how many people are visiting my product page. So the goal could be any. The idea is to maximize the actual objective. So how do you do that? Again, the basic idea is through experimentation. So first of all, conversion rate optimization can be divided into three categories. First category is research. So you would actually have to study, and there are tools available to study what is the existing customer behavior, what are the spots which get more clicks, so which area do people spend more time on. So that's a research subject. You take a sample or you take a full population and do a study of that. So that's a research stage. Second stage is experimentations. Once you have gained some insights into through the research stage on what are people clicking on, where are they dropping off, which is attracting more clicks. So you then do experimentation. Let me try page A versus page B and see which gives me better conversions, in terms of my goals. And once you have experimentation done, then you do personalization. That is like the final stage where every person sees a page based on the data that we feel that he'll is more relevant to. That's the final stage is personalization. But the first two are what typically comes under research and experimentation tools. So there are various tools available which help you do that today. As I said earlier, everything is around data. But now there are tools which allow you to use that data for experimentation and research. Primary usage of this is again where the shop is digital. So if your shop is digital, you will definitely use a CRO tool. But definitely, even if you are a player where you use a website for lead generation, etc., you can use CRO for landing page optimization and experimentations.
I think I would just like to add to it again because I've been working into e-commerce sites for near about 5 years, and CRO has been a burning topic with us. You won't believe I nearly spent near about 30% of my daily job is to analyze the heat maps, right? What exactly who is doing, what is happening on a website, where are people clicking, why are people not going to a particular segment. So heat maps study is what I think Veer was referring to, what is more like understanding the user altogether. The other part is doing experiments, like so there can be A/B testing, multivariate testing. There can be n number of kind of testing which can happen, like show this banner, show that banner. Actually, to be very honest, we with my ex company that we have also tried to show customers a kind of a product, right, which actually lead to the conversion rate optimization. We were able to bring down we were able to actually bring up the conversion rate to 8% on a web page, right? So it was, and that time I don't think we had any AI or and now you can very well think which websites I'm talking about. But just understanding the persona really well, we were able to find out that if we are able to show these users, the new users, a certain kind of a product, our conversion rate will go up, right? So and this we were able to get out by understanding the basic trends, right? There was no algorithm which we tried to use. It was basic, and then because of that, we were able to justify the ROI also, right? So we need to understand that marketing job is to bring in the right target audience to the website, but at the end of the day, it is something as a product which a person is about to purchase. So if you are able to get intelligence on what product you needs to show to that user who you are bringing in, and you marry that data together, your your conversion rate will be the next level. So I have seen website with a conversion rate as high as 12% with intelligence in place, and I have seen website as low as 2% or 3%, and even below, right? So I think it's all about understanding. It is also about learning from your heat maps, and then having the right thing at the right place for the right user.
I think we are on the last trend, ninth trend, which is progressive web apps. They are like apps in terms of functionality and like a website in terms of reach and structure. So it's largely to help to build the functionality, if I'm not mistaken, of a product, right? But when we say functionality, exactly what we are talking about here, to what extent brands can use it? Are we talking about being discovered? It is easy to discover the website. Is it easy to share it, or from a consumer point of view, it's a easier experience to navigate through the website and finally arrive at a destination, which could be a commerce or which could be consumption of content, depending on the kind of website the consumer is on to at this time. So, Veer, would you please like to explain how does this entire thing work?
Yeah, sure. So, today, you can build a app. If so, first of all, let's take a website which a user would often visit, right? If you're visiting once in a while, you just need a mobile website, and that should be good enough. You don't really need an app. But if there's a frequent use, and that frequency could be depending on which vertical we are talking about. It could be once a day, multiple times a day, once a week, once a month. But if there is a need for a customer to install an application, that creates a need for the brand to create an app. Now there are multiple choices today for a brand to create that app. It could be done through native Android or iOS development. It could be through hybrid frameworks like React. It could so there are multiple methods a developer has at his disposal to create an app. A progressive web app is basically a single source through which an app-like experience is delivered without the need to create and maintain platform-specific applications. Because when you create applications which are iOS, Android, then there is a whole cost that comes with it to maintain and upgrade those applications. So you have the choice to either create a website-like experience, which is kind of slow, and if there is a lot of interactivity involved, it is not the perfect experience on a mobile device, as opposed to an app. So a progressive web app is somewhere in between, where the goal is to give you an app-like experience without the cost to the brand of maintaining multiple platform-specific apps. So that's the way in between. And Samarth, I think, has some experience there that he could share.
Sure. So I think we have actually tried out progressive web app, and we are actually trying to build one. The reason why I think why we are actually working towards it is because we want to reach out to a larger base altogether. People don't always want to install the app, and also progressive web app I think has a good functionality of doing some experiments altogether. So see, we don't want to we want to experiment with users who have a PW as a different version. We can show them a different UI altogether, need not to change the entire website or need not to change the entire app altogether. and we are also trying to do it for the people who don't want to, who don't have. So there is a very interesting data which we have is that most of the people don't have empty of space also on their mobile phone. So PWAs actually help us to solve that as an answer. And people are able to now, Google and Facebook are also giving us how to play the game without installing them, right? So I think we are moving in that direction. PWA is one of the most important thing which we are also working on internally. And yes, so it's a huge topic, and I don't think this will we will have ample of time, I think, to discuss this. But yes, it's I will not say it's a need of an hour. It's already the time to like. It is something just like when web came, then app came, then PWA came, and then something else will come, right? So yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think we have covered all the trends, and net what we're discussing is the kind of role technology is now playing in devising a marketing strategy, which is no longer just say putting up an ad on a social media platform. It's about using tools, using data to understand what a consumer wants, at what time she wants, where she wants, and how to deliver it. It's actually, it's like if a consumer is walking down the street and if she wants to have a burger ads pop up on her phone or say on her tab. It's almost something like giving a real-time experience to consumer, and which leads to buy or which leads to impulse purchases. So, and there are various tools like AI, AR, and giving, and then there's programmatic advertising to drive that messaging forward, right? So, just give us a minute or two. We'll start getting the questions from our audiences. In the meantime, I had a question for you guys. The last trend was progressive web apps that we discussed, right? And Veer, you mentioned about the cost factor. I just want to know between the two of you, if we is it like to what extent the cost comes down, and if the cost comes down, does the experience also gets impacted? I mean, if I had been on an app vis-a-vis when I am using a progressive web page, does it compromise on that experience? As a user, would I know? And hence, would it have some kind of impact on whether it's buying or reading content?
So I
Yeah,
will just go ahead on this if you don't mind, right?
yeah,
See,
yeah.
it's also with respect to what kind of objectives you're trying to solve in an organization, right? For example, if you're talking about reach, right? If you're talking about reaching out to the users, PWA can be a very helpful thing altogether, right? Obviously, a platform like Baby Chakra, where we have content, community, and commerce, making a PWA is a very tedious task, right? And making it together and functioning it's a tough task. So I think the good functionality, what we have observed, can be delivered through PWA, and that is what we are trying to work on. But right now, I think the best of the class experience, which we think is through an app in our scenario. Veer, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that, point about objective, and that's something that I thought I'll mention, Anushri, on this, is that life, just like life is about trade-offs, so is technology choices. So you need to make a trade-off. What is more important to you? So, if for example, when you use a PWA, definitely it will not give you the experience a native app would give you. Now, if the experience is foremost, then you would be willing to take on the cost of development for various platforms. But for example, if the experience is not too inferior and it increases the reach, and as Samarth was pointing out, there is not much of a cost at the customer side also to install and upgrade the apps. So it is a win-win for both. So you do trade-offs based on your objectives, and that is the point I would like to concur.
So we also have the first question, and the question is that, while we have the trends highlighting the direction in which the market is moving, how can marketers at startups begin creating their own marketing stack? Where do they start, and what are the things they should take into consideration?
Yeah, I can take a first shot at it, and then Samarth, you can add. So it is a very good question, because if you look at Scott Brinker's Martech landscape, there are 5,000 plus companies in it. Now, even if you start evaluating every category that is listed, it's just not possible. So it's a daunting task for marketers, that where do you start? We have developed a model at Netcore to help the marketer deal with it. So the first and foremost layer for a Martech stack is the data layer. Because if you don't get the data layer right, you cannot build anything on top of that. It's like just a foundation of a building. So if you get it wrong, or you get it in a certain way, then the building will be of a certain manner. But so getting the data layer right is very important. Especially you have to start with owned data of owned properties, that is first party data from your own properties, which includes email, SMS, web, app. So these are the channels that a marketer owns, so push and on-site channels. So first get the data layer right. That is why the CDP part becomes very, very important. And when you choose a integrated multi-channel campaign management tool like Smartech, you get a CDP which makes sure that the data layer is correct. And on top of that, you also get integrations which are automatically in place. So the first thing to do is to make sure that the data layer is very well thought out. You create a unified view, which is the second principle that I would like to talk about, connected to the data layer, that you always approach your strategy with the unified view of the single customer in mind. You're not talking about segments, you're not talking about personas. Those are higher level in the stack. In the data layer, the most important thing is to build a architecture which supports creation of individual customer profiles in a CDP. So the second important point in the data layer is to get the unified view of the customer right. Once you get these two things right, you can then build analytics on top of that, which will give you better segmentation. You can also add machine learning layer on top of that, and then you have a layer to reach out to your customers. So there are multiple channels to reach out to the customer, whether it is browser notification, app notifications, SMS, email, voice calls, display ads. That is the topmost part in the layer, which helps you reach out to your customers. So this is the stack that we advise our customers to build upon. And choosing your campaign management tool intelligently is very important, because if you use channel specific tools like a email marketing tool versus a app marketing tool versus a web personalization tool, then you would have to do extra work to unify those things, those channels. Samarth?
So I will just put it this way: we like our data is sleeping right now in our servers, right? You need intelligence to wake them up, right? And there is no use of data sleeping in our servers. We are collecting data and putting it onto a server. There is an intelligence which is required to make use of that data which we are storing, right? And that is where this entire AI and all these platforms come into place. I think what marketers need to realize right now is, and I think I have also learned it on a long way, is we should be collecting the right data, right? And what I have observed in my journey so far is that, uh, and see, we are all in a learning phase, right? But we should be collecting the data in the best possible way, and then start utilizing it using some analytics tool, or like I would say tools like Netcore, in which we can have some AI built over it, and then reach out to the end customer. So I think it's high time that our data, we should wake up our data who's sleeping in a server, and then try to do something out of it.
There's a question which has been asked, is that how much automation can be done with marketing using your own product? And also we are running a bit short on time, so I think after this we'll only take one more and we'll have to end the discussion.
I think I will take a jump on that question if you don't mind, Veer.
Sure.
I think you can do anything, right? There's endless possibilities right now in the market, right? And it's all about, I think, endless possibility to achieve the best ROI for the marketing is the right statement to be made, right? We can use tools with ifs and buts and ors all together, right? Like if a user has done this, do this, or if a user has not done this, then do this. Reach out to a user using an email, SMS, WhatsApp, or even a web push notification altogether. Even we can use Chrome push notification like anything. So it's actually easy for reaching out to a user. But now is where the things start diluting is everybody does not want to be reached every time. So you cannot be pushing things to a user like crazy, right? People will start hating you guys for it, right? So I think reaching out to a user is not a big problem. Reaching out to a user when he or she requires you is the best thing. And I think now we can take it how these guys are solving it, and we are seeing it on a daily basis. I think we are doing a good job onto it.
Yeah, so Samarth was saying that if you have a gun that you will shoot every time is not the best thing to do. Yeah, so if so, no, that's important, and I think that also that part about frequency of reaching out. These are also covered in intelligent campaign management systems. So, for example, Smartech. When you talk about automation, there is automation built into Smartech. Smartech, we talk about three A's. First A is automation. Second A is AI, and the third A is analytics. So these are ingrained into tools like Smartech, because without automation, one-to-one personalization is not possible. You cannot personalize at a scale of 1 lakh customers in any other way. So automation is at the core of Smartech. You are able to do what just Samarth was talking about. You're able to do frequency cap through automation. So you can decide that show one message to customers once a day or once a week. So based at a customer level, segment level, you can do this kind of frequency capping. That's just an example. You could do personalization in the web message. This person sees this web message if he's a second time visitor of my website. Based on the customer's app activity, you can send an app notification that this customer opens the app usually in the mornings. So then send an app notification usually in the mornings. So that's what we call a send time optimization. You can do channel preference. So there is inbuilt automation, AI, and analytics in Smartech. That's really the multi-channel campaign management tool with Journey Builder that we have.
Yeah, the last question is very interesting. How's the issue of privacy going to impact the future of marketing, with Apple already blown the bugle?
I think privacy is very important, and the reason why I'm saying so is that Baby Chakra as a platform is used by I think 20 lakh female audience every month, right? And they are sharing a lot of content, right? And these are we have to maintain, we have to maintain their privacy, right? As at a marketing level, also, what kind of data we collect and how as a client, how much data can we share it with the marketing automation platform is something which we are very much thinking of every day in and out, right? Like we cannot be sharing any data by which our user privacy is actually blown up. With respect to Google and with respect to Apple also, uh, I and I think GDPR. What I would like to ask Veer about GDPR. Like, how is India also ready for it, or like, are there something with things which are happening with GDPR, Veer, in
Yeah,
India?
so in fact, we are part of industry consultation where there's a Indian version of GDPR in the works, by the government and the regulator. So that is being worked upon, and Netcore is part of the consultations there as well. So that is actually to be taken very seriously by all brands. It's a matter of time, when it will get introduced in India as well. The core part is that the consent and control of data belongs to the customer. So we will basically, brands and enablers like Netcore, we will have to provide tools where the customer will have the right to forget, to tell the brand to forget and delete all the data that they have. So basically, the consent and control belonging to the user, the enablers like Netcore, Smartech, as well as brands will have to comply by that, and that is a good it's a good sign of maturity of an industry. And once that framework is in place, it allows brands to work with customer data in a legal way, where there is no doubt left in anyone's minds.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Veer. Thank you, Samarth, for joining us for the webinar. And I hope it was useful and insightful for all our audiences who were part of it. It was a pleasure to have you all, and thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Anishi.
Anish.
Bye.